Welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory. I'm super excited! This is a moment that I personally have been waiting for. It feels like my whole life, but my whole life can't have been leading to this moment of doing this podcast, but maybe.
It could be. It could very well be. Well, I hope we're not peaking right now. I would like to peak again at another point in my life.
This feels like the peak. So today we have a special guest with us. We did have him on the podcast before. Say hi, Jay.
Hi, it's me.
We're so excited to have you. I'm going to tell a little backstory, or would you like to tell the story of why you're on this specific episode?
So, I honestly have no recollection of how it came to be that we started this strange quest, but basically some 6 months ago, I decided in some weird state that I was gonna get Misha to come on the podcast to do this episode. Obviously that didn't work, but I've texted him week in and week out to do this. And I've tweeted at him, and I have given him a letter in person saying, please come on the podcast. He has completely ignored me, which is on par. I'm not upset. But yes, that's kind of what happened, and I was told that if I couldn't get Misha, well, I was clearly the superior choice anyway, so... I'm kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. No contest. We'd much rather have you here. Oh my god. Yeah, we're really excited to have you, obviously.
Oh god, I'm so excited.
Yay. So we're here to talk about season 4, episode 1, Lazarus Rising, and I literally can't stop the excitement in my voice. I'm just so happy to watch this episode.
This is a point we've been building up to for the last 3 seasons. Let's be real.
Yeah.
This appearance is the one.
Yeah. Before I started watching the show, I kind of knew that Cass was going to be in it, and I knew that he wasn't going to be in it from the start, and I was basically speed running through the first 3 seasons. It's like, give me the angel now!
That's kind of where we were at too. I mean, yeah, we enjoyed going through each episode and stuff, but in the back of our minds we're like, Cass. I mean, the wrap up that we just put out a couple weeks ago has, a good portion about season 4. A little too long. Well, not too long, but it felt very season 4 centric for season 3 wrap up.
Yep.
But it's all building to this point. It's all building to this point. This episode was, I know this was directed by Kim Manners. It was written by Eric Kripke. It aired on September 18th, 2008. That's the date that's also in this episode. So they've managed to line up real time with supernatural time, kind of. And then it diverges again later on. But for now, it was canonically happening on the same day. So I thought that was super fun.
But I love the fact that they brought Kim Manners back in to direct this. I know we've had continuations from season 1 to 2, was very much back to back. Mm-hmm. But season 2 to 3 was not. This transition that they do is really good.
Yeah. I did say to Annabelle before I watched this, I was like, I'm going to watch the end of season 3 and then I'm going to watch the beginning of season 4 just to see how crazy it is. Just how the transition. But then I kind of didn't need to because they do it in The Road So Far and I would have to change a DVD and that seems like a really onerous task for me. It's too much.
I feel like every time that the season changes, when I was watching it, and that now that I'm kind of listening to your podcast and rewatching the show as well, every time that the season changes, I'm like, and people had to wait months to get this content. Jesus, the cliffhangers are real.
Yeah.
But season 3, season 4 especially, I feel like I don't know if there is a more potent cliffhanger and transition than that one. Then again, I say that every season. So.
I mean, the Supernatural fans don't call the hiatus the hellatus for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, the cliffhangers are extreme. I cannot imagine having to wait for this.
Because the last episode was May?
Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you.
I was having a difficult time containing myself in the 15 seconds it took me to click through to the next season when I was watching it.
Give me that supernatural content.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, first of all, the use of AC/DC here, yes. Yes.
Can I just say, for the road so far this time around, like, they picked quite a nice classic to go with the road so far when it comes to music. I mean, it shook me all night long, but somehow seeing Dean getting eaten by a hellhound shook me all night long seemed a little inappropriate.
They knew what they were doing. They knew. There were other beats of that song, like the lyrics, that matched so nicely to what you were seeing on screen. They knew. They're like, haha, this is horrible.
Kind of the road so far always seemed kind of surreal to me. Like, just how cheery it is. Like, la-di-da, amazing, energetic music. People are dying, monsters, oh my god, tragedy. And it's like, took me all night long.
Well, they used that so that they could also have all their, like, model faces, right?
Well, I feel like in this particular road so far, there was very little model faces and a lot of monster faces.
Watching Gordon get decapitated to AC/DC is a vibe. Like, I'm not sure it's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe I don't really want to be on.
Yeah, right. The road so far is great. We see the new text, which is like red now for the road so far, which kind of carries into the title card, which I'll talk about in a minute, because we always go through the title card when we start a new season. The now is Dean in hell.
Good God.
So it's just like, yeah, this is happening. It's different to the end of season 3, because obviously they didn't want to rig everything back up again from what they did from season 3, so they just very much focus on his face in this, or like it's like Western style, like that bit of your eyes. I'm doing an action on webcam that no one else can see, but you know what I mean if you've watched the episode.
So I guess the best way to describe it is if you have like a door flap for like your letters, and you just like look through that, and you only see eyes. That's exactly what it is.
Dude looking through the letterbox of hell, yeah. I'm surprised this episode doesn't come with a like flashing warning. I thought this when I was because I was reblogging some GIFs from this where people have sort of done that bit in hell, and I've had to put like a warning on that because it's very extreme actually how much there is like flashes. Do we think that, because there is speculation in the fandom of this is Dean's last moments in hell as Castiel is saving him, and the blue and white flashes in that are like people think it's kind of indicative, but I would say at the end of season 3 the flashes are similar too, so I'm like, not sure.
Because there was lightning in hell, and hell was a bit more brown than you would have expected. I'm not sure I have an opinion on that. It is an interesting theory, but I always kind of pictured it as kind of Dean's experience on the rack than Cass breaking him out.
I agree with you, just because I feel like this is the images that are used later on in this episode for like almost like flashbacks. I mean, I should say at the beginning of this, spoilers. I mean, I don't know why I even bother saying it anymore.
It's
like,
a rewatch.
Spoilers this episode.
I also don't think it was him like getting dragged out of hell by Cass, because I feel like Dean would have had his eyes closed when that was happening.
Ooh, I like that.
True form and all that.
No burny eyes out.
Well, so would a true form angel burn the eyes out of the soul?
I don't think so, because, I mean, how else do people in heaven experience angels? I think that souls are not susceptible to that. I think it's only the meat suits that suffer from it. I also, this is a weird tangent, but bear with me. I wonder and this is because I'm also replaying Mass Effect at this point in time, Dean in Hell, kind of the eye shots and the way they were recorded and the sound kind of breaking up in different places very much reminded me of the first beacon vision from Mass Effect 1. And I wonder if A, someone was a fan of Mass Effect when they were editing it, or B, is it a weird coincidence? Because Mass Effect 1 was, I think, out by that point. It's
yeah, I mean, because it definitely is a very different aesthetic. It's so contrasty and so... It made me jump. Actually.
Yeah.
It actually made me jump because I was like, oh, I was not expecting that. It could very well be influenced by other things.
So, we kind of do a hard cut from Dean and Hal into just black, and we hear breathing, and a lighter comes on, and we see that Dean's in his coffin. He's buried underground. He's like...
Typical Tuesday. Waking up in a coffin.
As soon as this thing came up, like him being in the box and the lighter, I was like, oh... Just desserts. This is what you did. Doc Benton.
That doctor deserved it. He was like a weird Frankenstein.
But like the idea of being buried alive forever. Like,
yes.
I was like, ha ha ha, now you know what it feels like.
Oh God.
Poor Dean. He just goes, how Annabelle? Give him a break.
Never.
Annabelle is Chuck, confirmed.
Oh no.
I think we see him like panic a little bit, and before he kind of starts to bash his way out of this, the shot that comes after, do you know what, I love Kim Manners, and I've said it so many times, and I'm going to say it again, but like, iconic, because we see like a really, this is where I think like the Western influence comes in, because even the grave marker looks very like, it could be in a Western cemetery, and just, I don't know, I watched this for once, not on my computer screen, I watched it on my TV, and you can see what we're talking about, like the really grainy effect of this, as like you see Dean's hands emerge from the grave, and he literally has to like drag himself out, which just kudos to Jensen Ackles, because they buried that man alive.
He literally has some Dean experience.
Right?
Yeah.
I very personally just immediately when I saw Dean in in his grave, in the coffin, it's not a callback because this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But oh my God, season 14 and the Malak box, that hurt me. The kind of the nightmare that he has in season 14 is very similar to this.
Yeah.
This scene.
Yeah.
Which,
because
kudos.
By that point, Dean knows what it's like to be buried alive, and
oh my God. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
How long do you think it took him to dig out?
I recently saw, I don't know where, but I saw a technique of digging yourself out of the grave if you ever get buried alive.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It doesn't take very long because, well, it depends on how dense the soil is, actually. But I'm assuming it took him a bit longer than normal because he was there for 6 months, was it? 4 months?
4 months, yeah.
But what I found interesting was that what you have to do is kind of, you have to create this tunnel up, as in you have to be as straight as possible, which is weird because it's Dean, so but like you have to tunnel exactly up with like your hands up, and it matches what happened with Dean, so that's kind of interesting. The grave digging yourself out scene is scientifically accurate.
It is correct. I mean, the effort with it, which he like pulls himself out, like it feels very believable. I mean, because he kind of did actually do it. I mean, obviously not in the exact way that you would have to, but
I mean, it bears a very interesting resemblance to like being born, like being birthed into this world again, which is, oh my God, supernatural, and they're accidental things they do.
So, I mean, the shot here, because again, I was saying like it's like very Western, they kind of do a pan up to his face and it kind of zooms around him, and I just like the close-ups here, and it feels like he could be in a desert town, like squinting into the sun. I don't know. I just felt that influence. And as we kind of zoom out on this, we see there is a blast radius of trees around the gravesite. So it looks like they buried Dean in sort of like wood clearing.
Does this match up with like what happened in season 3? Because he was buried in Illinois. Were they in Illinois?
Right, I looked this up. I went on Google Maps because Dean is buried in Pontiac, Illinois, and he died in New Harmony, Indiana, and that is a 4-hour drive. And I don't know why they chose that specific place. Like, were they? It's pretty tragic if you think about it, because they would have had to load Dean's body into the Impala, Bobby and Sam, and drive around. So maybe they just drove in shock until they found somewhere that looked fairly
Or
decent.
maybe, do you think that because Bobby was kind of talking about how, I think later in the season somewhere, that like Sam didn't want to do it. Like, in the same way that Dean didn't want to bury Sam in like, season 3. Mm-hmm. Do you think it could have been that Sam was like, no, I'm not giving up on him, and Bobby was like, son, he's dead. Yeah. And they were just arguing about that for like 4 hours until they stopped in some field, and Sam was like, fine, Jesus, but I will find a way, damn you.
I can believe that, actually, yeah, because you're right. At the end of season 2, Dean was very much in denial. I can see that same thing happening and that being that argument. They may not have wanted to bury him in the same state he died in as well. I don't know why I thought that, but like, wanted to cross the state line. Not sure.
The last trip of the Winchester.
Yeah.
I don't know. They wanted to take him on the last Impala ride. Why am I doing this to myself? Why?
I'll bring it back to like something stupid.
Okay.
So I'm sure you're both aware that Pontiac is also a make of car, like an old style of. Mm-hmm. So it could literally just because they wanted to have him in Pontiac because of, like, it's a classic car.
Like, Dean would have appreciated this fun.
Yeah.
Like,
so we went sad and then we went stupid.
To bring it a little bit more stupid, I feel like the thing that I noticed that kind of grated against my mind in the scene, very dramatic scene when Dean is crawling out of the grave, his intake of breath when he crawls out of the grave is very stupid. I don't know what it is about it, but it sounds dumb. It's like, it's like, I know that it's like, I know that like you're crawling out of the grave and you're not necessarily thinking about your reactions to things, but that was particularly, I don't know, unattractive of him to do that.
I've had a moment like that before. Like, I really love the film Moulin Rouge, don't know why. And there's a bit at the very end where Ewan McGregor is crying, and I don't know why, but I always just find it absolutely hilarious. I don't know why. Awful person I am. I feel like the elephant in the room here is, I can't believe Cass resurrected him and then left him in his grave. So socially awkward, was like, I don't actually want to deal with this at the moment, so I'm just going to leave him here, actually.
What if he like didn't understand how that kind of thing worked? Should I not take him out? Should I leave him? So I'm gonna just leave him there.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that was the thing that like made him different to all the other Casses, is that he left him in the grave?
Oh god. What if like Dean did something on the way up that made Cass like slightly annoyed? Like, what if he like grabbed him in a way that was a little like annoying or something, like grabbed his feather in a weird way, and Cass was like, I'm annoyed with you, so you're gonna deal with that on your own. You're gonna crawl out on your own.
I would imagine it would be his attitude or his like. He would say something rather than
like, fuck
something.
You, Angel. Leave me alone. Because like, nah. Now you crawl out of the grave.
Season 4 Cass would do that.
Yeah.
Fully would do that, like, fine. Deal with that on your own.
Very vindicative, that one. Very pissy. Petty.
Okay, so from that we go into the title card. So things I noticed about it. The title is red now. I thought demon blood. That's the easy connection to make here with the title. Yeah. And then crows. And I was like, Cass? Cass Wings?
Cass Wings.
Yeah.
Cass Wings.
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote Dean's voice as raspy. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like raspy
gravelly,
and like,
kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't used it in... Okay,
Yeah.
has he not used it in 4 months? Or is it his soul, like, still recovering from yelling in hell?
Or, technically speaking, and this is kind of a headcanon that I have that I like, so bear with me. Technically speaking, I mean, Dean's body was not preserved by angelic forces, because why would it have been? They didn't know he was downstairs for a long time, and by the 4-month mark, I mean, the human body in the ground does not look pretty. So, by that point, he didn't have vocal cords anymore. So, Cass, when he dropped him into the body, technically restored his body. So, Dean has never used this particular iteration of his voice box. So, you know.
Yeah, he's literally getting used to a new body. Kind of like how we saw Lilith at the end of season 3, getting used to Ruby's vessel.
Yeah.
It was very jerky and her voice changed a lot. I think I kind of like that he's getting used to what is essentially a new body. So Dean walks up and we see it's like really hot. He's got his like jacket tied around his waist, which is a look he should have done more often, just saying.
Yep.
And he finds an abandoned gas station. So this is what I really liked about this episode. The whole beginning of this episode is super quiet. All we have in it is Dean's kind of raspy voice, and then once he kind of realizes that it's not working properly, doesn't really use it at all. He goes through all of this pretty much silently, and there's no music. And it kind of feels like the end of the world. Like, there's no one there.
It feels very apocalyptic. Like, I have it noted down in my notes, like, what happened to the gas station? Because there's things in the gas station. There's food in the gas station. It's not spoiled. And like, what happened? Nobody knows.
Unless Cass cleared it out, it was like, I'm going to give you a rest stop. So, yeah, he kind of breaks into this gas station because it's locked. We see him grab like a bottle of water, down it, because it looks like it's super hot as well where he is. Finds a newspaper and it reads, as I said at the beginning, Thursday, September 18th, 2008. So, this must have been when Supernaturals moved to Thursdays. And then he does what every Winchester does when they've been through a traumatic experience and washes his face.
He just dug out of the grave. Like, cut him a break.
I think
it's not so much trauma as it's dirt.
Yeah. And it was hot too. Like, he's sweaty and covered in dirt. And
there just seems to be a continuing theme in Supernatural when you're not maybe feeling like yourself, you know, like you've come back in a different body or something's happened to you. You go and wash your face in a mirror. I don't know what it is.
But isn't it slightly like therapeutic? Because I mean, it is kind of finding your center, right?
Yeah.
In a way, like you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and it's like, okay, you can kind of hear it happening. Like, okay, I'm still me. I'm still like here. I got stuff to do. Let me wash my face because I'm all hot and bothered by this emotion that I'm feeling. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I do. I like it's a continuing theme. I do. Because it is kind of a way to bring yourself back to yourself.
Can I say what really annoyed me in this particular scene is that there is and this is just me being weird about things, there is the fridge that Dean opens to get the water out, and so on. There is a note on the door that says, keep the door closed, and Dean doesn't close it.
Of course he doesn't.
And I have it written in my notes in all caps, keep the door closed, Dean!
Destruction in his wake, Dean Winchester. Like, honestly.
Killing monsters and fridges.
And the electricity bill. God.
So in this mirror where he's washed his face, we kind of see Dean look at himself, and then he kind of checks his clothes, because obviously his clothes have also been put back intact, like good job, Cass. And then he kind of like raises his shirt to just look, I guess, for these scars of the hellhounds. And as he turns, I have to get this right, his left shoulder. It's his left shoulder, guys.
Yes, it's his left shoulder.
He pulls up his sleeve to reveal this large handprint. Yeah, very exciting moment.
To tell you I lose my mind every time I see it is not enough.
So yeah, we see Dean get stuff together, so he's like pulling snacks and stuff. Why? Why'd they include this? I'm so annoyed about it. Like, why is he grab porn as well? Like, why?
Listen, I think I know why. And it's simply because Supernatural cannot bear the thought of keeping things too serious for too long. And also because it's like, I don't know, I feel like if they leave Dean to his emotions and don't break it up with a joke for too long, it's gonna seem gay. And it's like, by this point they couldn't have known, but in retrospect I think it's pretty funny that technically the only characters who are in this scene, in this like first 10 minutes of the show, are Cass and Dean. Yep. And they were like, it was not their intention, but it's funny to me that it was like, we have to bring women into this scene somehow, lest they think they're gay.
Yeah, I think you're right. They can't have a too serious moment. I think what they were trying to do as well is be like, oh, it's the same old Dean Winchester who's come back from hell. Like, he still likes women and fast cars. So, yeah, it's fine. Whatever, Supernatural. Like, I don't expect any better by now.
And I mean, people do have weird trauma responses, right? In a lot of ways. So this technically isn't completely out of character for Dean to do, because he does have a trauma response that is like, oh, I've been through something terrible, let me laugh at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And seeing something familiar, I guess, even if that thing is a porn magazine, is maybe like, oh, I'm actually on Earth.
I'm actually alive. This is a sign.
Not in some alternate reality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or if I'm in heaven, or in a weird... Do you think at any point that he thought this wasn't... that this possibly could have been just another thing that happened to him in hell to mess with his brain?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially because he woke up in a box. Like, it's traumatic, and it's like, oh, they found another way to mess with me. Surely.
So I feel like this potentially could have been just him claiming like, oh, well, if I'm in hell, at least there's porn. You know?
Yeah. That's true. So he goes to the cash register, he kind of steals the money from that, which, I mean, it's abandoned and he needs to change because he's planning to use the phone. We see that in a bit. But as he does so, there's a television in there and it comes on and there's static. That goes off, like the radio turns on, and then the TV and the radio turn on. And I feel like it's such a funny image to like think of Cass like, TV didn't work, I'll try the radio. Radio doesn't work, I'll just use my phone. Like, I'll just try both, because maybe that will work. You know, Dean grabs some salt and tries to like salt the door, but it's still, the noise is still coming for him, essentially. To the point that he's eventually on the ground with his, I think his ears are bleeding, covering his head, and all of the windows smash. And then it eventually just stops.
Which is like, Cass, give it up, buddy. Like, it's not working. It's not worth it. You're gonna break him. I know you can fix him, but you're gonna break him again. Stop it.
I love that Cass, like, the first time it happens is like, that's okay, I'll just try again later. Clearly the line's not open yet.
Yeah, it's like for a weird angel that does not understand social cues at all, he's weirdly tactful about when he decides that it's the time to try again. Yeah. Because it's like he lets Dean have his moment with Bobby, he lets Dean have his moment with Sam, and then he waits until Dean's alone, and then he's like, okay, me now.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, you waited. I see you, Kat.
I need to talk with you alone.
You know, Dean goes to a cell phone, a payphone, you know, those things that used to exist everywhere and now don't.
I was canonically 9 during these events, so I do not remember payphones.
I do remember using payphones as a child. I was taught to use one specifically in case I got into a pickle. People use them for libraries now. There's no payphones anymore. I mean, he tries to ring Sam first of all, clearly, although the number doesn't connect through. And then, as that doesn't work, he rings Bobby. I love this exchange so much.
Bobby?
Yeah?
It's me.
Who's me?
Dean.
It's both heartbreaking and funny. And it's kind of weird that Bobby didn't recognize Dean's voice. But again, this can kind of be the whole, like, oh yeah, Dean just hasn't his voice back yet.
It's also like, I think the thing is, I think Bobby does recognize him because the second time he says it's like, stop calling this isn't funny. So maybe he thinks that something supernatural is messing with him. I mean, obviously, absolutely. Yeah. Because, it's so unbelievable that Dean would come back to, just such a weird amount of time has passed. Like, 4 months is just...
A random 4 months. Yeah. Like a random day in September.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not, though, because it is 4 months since the last episode.
Yeah, why did they bring this into real time? I know why they brought it into real time, but, because they wanted to line up the whole apocalypse thing, I think. But, it's also, you can kind of imagine, okay, so let's just go with that a second. If you were watching this in real time, you could be like, oh, the whole time I was waiting for supernatural, Dean was in hell, man, that's awful.
Oh, Dean is today, not in hell anymore.
Yeah.
I
kind of like they did that, I do. Dean steals a car. I don't know what type of car this is. It's an old car. He doesn't look happy about driving it, so I guess it's not a good old car.
Now, I didn't look it up, but I hope it was a Pontiac.
I mean...
I really do, but I don't think it was.
We go to Bobby's house, and we see the inside of Bobby's house and hear knocking on the door, and it's Dean.
Surprise.
He's a bit standoffish with Bobby, like he's not sure how he's going to be greeted, because he's like, it's me, back from the dead. Of course, Bobby's going to try and stab him. I mean, what else would he do? And they have a kind of a fight while Dean's kind of shouting like, it's me, it's me. Dean gets to the point where he's like kind of got some distance between them, and he says to Bobby,
your name is Robert Stephen Singer. You became a hunter after your wife got possessed. You're about the closest thing I have to a father.
Dean, why would you do this to me?
My heart. I know, Dean, how dare you? I mean, I'm happy for him, but Jesus.
I know.
Talking about this before, how self-aware Dean is. And it's coming up again. Where does this go?
Nowhere, as most things in Supernatural.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like it. And it does take Bobby's guard down, or we think it does, because he kind of lowers a knife, then tries to stab him again. Eventually, Dean has to kind of prove to Bobby that he's not anything supernatural, because with the knife he took from Bobby, he cuts his arm. It's like a silver knife with a pentagram on it.
Yeah, which, can I say, I've never really... I mean, obviously, I understand from the cinematic perspective why they cut their arms with the silver knives the way they do, but, IRL speaking, they could have just had like a singular little prick with the knife. Yeah. He didn't have to cut his hand like that. He didn't have to cut it where it would take the longest time to heal, or very close to the joint so that it hurts every time he bends his arm.
Yeah.
Dean.
You think
Did you leave half your brain in the grave?
I mean,
he does make a face of oh God, I have to do this,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yeah, but when you do the face of oh God, I have to do this, don't you just look for the best option? And he picked the worst one.
They never learn this.
No.
Does it have to break the skin, or is it just silver?
Yeah, I thought it didn't. I don't know what's up with the whole cutting deal. Stop it. Technically, they were checking shapeshifters and other creatures by just putting a silver ring on their finger and touching them.
Yeah.
Sometimes even through clothing. So, what is this overkill that's happening here? Can I bring something very depressing for the next bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because after Dean does the test and Bobby is like, oh crap, this may indeed be Dean, he kind of in disbelief takes Dean and hugs him. And here's the thing. Right after that happens, Dean starts talking and he gets splooshed in the face with holy water.
Yeah.
For a test of are you a demon or not. And here's the thing. Bobby had many occasions to sploosh him with holy water. But he wanted that hug. He was like, if it's a demon, then I'm gonna deal with it, but I need to hug my boy first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad.
It's good to see you, boy. Yeah, you too. But how did you bust out? I don't know. I just woke up in a pine box.
You're right. He wanted that hug. He wanted that Winchester hug with Dean of before the kind of illusion melted away as he almost expected it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, you kind of see that with, the hand, like the shoulder touch as well. Mm-hmm. Even though it was a diversion, it's exactly the same technique. Mm. He got Dean's guard down to then attack. But Bobby also got something out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that shoulder touch to me signaled like he's real, he's actually here. And then
not a ghost.
Not a ghost, not an alcohol induced hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like that a lot. Dean just spits up some of that holy water and says, yeah, I know you're laughing.
Is it holy water?
It says, I'm not a demon. And Bobby's kind of, it's almost like grinning and saying, can't be too careful. And from then on, Bobby pretty much believes him. I don't think there's anything else that Dean needed to do to convince him. I think there are lots of other things, explanations there could have been also, but Bobby's like, yeah, good enough for me. Yeah, this is fine.
I've done 2 tests, silver knife and holy water. That's all we know of right now.
That's fine. Bobby's like, well, how? Because you were dead. And how do you look like you're fine? Because he does this look. He's wearing the same outfit that he wore when he died, but it's fine. So, yeah, it's a lot. This is the first time that somebody asked Dean what he remembers, and he says,
I remember I was a Hellhound's chew toy, and then lights out. Then I come to 6 feet under. That was it.
This is the first time he's claiming that he remembers nothing from hell to somebody. And he quickly changes the subject to Sam, because he wants to know where he is because his number's not working. It turns out that Bobby and Sam have kind of parted ways, which we were saying at the end of season 3. I'm as surprised as Dean is in this scene. Like, you're supposed to look out for him. Like, this is the whole deal.
Well, but then Sam is also canonically stubborn.
Yeah.
We saw this reaction already in Mystery Spot. This is exactly how he acted for 6 months.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised that he couldn't get in contact because I was like, oh yeah, this is absolutely what Sam would do.
But Dean's surprised because Sam never told him about those 6 months in Mystery Spot. I fully believe he never told him that. Yeah. Of the revenge spree that he went on. Because Dean would have been more worried about leaving him if he had known about that. There's a bit of exposition here because they do a little bit of an explainer because the audience is thinking like, why did they bury Dean? Because it doesn't make sense because they've always said like, oh yeah, Hunter's funeral is like salting and burning. And so it turned out that Bobby wanted to do that, but Sam said no, he wanted to bury him just in case he could bring him back. I don't know, it makes Dean's funeral in 1520 a bit more poignant, that line.
Stop it right now. We do not speak of the forbidden tapes.
But yeah, you get my point, like the finality of it, because burying someone in the Hunter community means that you're not giving up on them, I feel. Yeah. Also probably a bad idea, because ghosts.
Or isn't it like also ultimate Hunter disrespect not to do that for someone?
Well, yeah, because a lot of Hunters don't want to come back as ghosts or demons.
Right. By that point, technically only the Winchesters know that you can cheat death. And none of them have really done it. Well, they have. Like Sam and Dean have done it once, but it was via a deal. They don't really know that they could be making a habit of this. Mm-hmm. Like, when Dean made that deal, it really seemed like a 1 in a million chance. And so, I feel like by this point, like season 10, nobody would have buried anybody because they were like, no, it's just run-of-the-mill regular stuff. They're like, he's coming back.
Yeah.
But but I feel like right now, not burning someone is just like ultimate Hunter community disrespect.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where they're at right now.
And that's probably the argument that was had between Sam and Bobby. And I would have liked to have almost seen some of that, even as like a flashback of them arguing over this. Thinking back to why they drove so far is possibly because, you know, if Sam wanted to bury Dean, then they wanted to do it as far away from the demons as possible. So this kind of thing couldn't happen. They couldn't steal Dean's body for possession.
I kind of like that conversation didn't happen, though, because I enjoy the fact that the first 15 minutes of this episode is just Dean and Bobby. Yeah. Like, there is no Sam. I enjoy the fact that there isn't Sam because it just kind of brings the tension to a certain place. Like, you don't know what's happening to Sam. Yeah. Like, we know he's kind of gone off the deep end, but, like, just how much is... I like that we get so much of Dean's perspective, and we know so little about the situation.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's very eerie and very quiet the first half of this episode until we do eventually see Sam, and it is almost like the dynamic changes once you get to that point. They kind of talk through what's happened. Dean tells him about what the gravesite looked like.
It's like a nuke went off. Then there was this force, this presence, I don't know, but it blew past me at a Phillip joint.
And there he went.
Bye. He said it was like a demon yanked me or rode me out, and then they kind of come to the conclusion that Sam must have done something, like made a deal, made a bargain. Dean goes ahead to find Sam by contacting his like cell phone company and they've done this before where they get kind of like a trace on the phone. It's a really dodgy website that looks completely unreal. So he finds his exact location.
It looks like early 2000 or late 2000 website.
I'm doubting the technology is what I'm doubting here. That they could track someone's cell phone to the street in 2008. So they find him. It turns out that he's in Pontiac, Illinois, so they have to turn around and drive back just where Dean has gone.
1 second, though, because I just had an epiphany. Yeah. Ark Mobile. Is that like a biblical thing?
There were some subtle hints in this episode throughout to what's going to happen in this season, right?
Yeah, there's a few lines where I'm like, oh yeah, you're foreshadowing something, and not very subtly. They go to the Astoria Motel and they knock on a door. Yeah, a lady opens. I mean, it's Ruby, but it's not Ruby, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was confused about. Is it Ruby? Is it not Ruby?
In my opinion, this is Ruby at this point, playing dumb.
See, the reason why I don't really know if that's the case was because... I mean, she doesn't look like she's behaving naturally in this scene, but at the same time, I feel like obviously she wouldn't have told Dean and Bobby that she was a demon. Yeah. And obviously she wouldn't have used the name Ruby because Dean knows that name. But it seems very kind of well practiced, the interaction that they have, like Sam and Ruby. And it seems a little too practiced to be a thing, because why would it ever be something that they had to practice? Like, that interaction of just, like, pretending they're not, you know, Ruby and Sam.
Yeah. I would say the presence of Bobby there, but the fact that she shows no surprise at all at seeing Dean, that kind of like suggested that it wasn't Ruby, but then the recognition, like, and the way that Sam talks to her in the diner later on makes me think that it was all a ruse. It's really confusing.
Yeah, I don't really know what they were trying to go for here. I don't know if they know what they were trying to go for here, so I'm not going to hold it against them.
Yeah, this person, who at this point is called Christy, I think asks them where the pizza is, essentially, and why it takes 2 of them to deliver it. Right. And then Sam kind of appears from the background, and he's like, what? And he looks really different. I just wanted to say this. From season 3 to season 4, that man put on some muscle mass. Like, yeah, he must have been at the gym for those.
I mean, yes.
And out in the sun, too.
Right.
At the same time, I know this is 2009 and this will forever kill me that this show was filmed so long ago, but what is this fashion choice that is this shirt over this t-shirt? Good Lord.
It's his hippie shirt. This is a Sam closet staple. We've seen this shirt before. I love it.
Since season 2.
Yeah,
it's horrid. I loathe everything about that outfit. And it definitely spells like man who can't take care of himself because he's too busy, like, yearning for a demon, drinking demon blood, and looking for his brother. Like, that's the shirt you put on when you're in that kind of situation.
Right? Well, we always known that Sam has a bit of a fashion sense issue.
Yeah.
Purple Greyhound shirt. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
I like that one, though. I enjoy it.
I mean, so while Christy's still there, I mean, you know, Dean says, Sammy, and they go in for, like, the longest bro hug that we've ever seen, to the point that Christy makes a gay joke about it. Like, I'm just, come on. Again, breaking the tension. You're right. Like, it's like it can't be too serious, this show.
It can't be too serious between two men, lest they think it's homosexual.
I mean, the thing is, it's also not an uncommon joke. Obviously, it's like a running thing that they're
through the show, yes,
for a couple, which I think is really weird. But
yeah, I don't really. I find it fascinating that these certain jokes and the like number of them only really come up when Kripke is writing an episode. I do with that what you will.
Yeah. I mean, this reunion is pretty intense. Neither Sam nor Dean are crying, but Bobby almost is, which I thought was really sweet. Like, you can kind of see tears in Bobby's eyes.
For some reason, that scene and the way it was shot seemed almost a little too cheesy to me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, the shot to Bobby, I don't know, there was something about that either about the way it was edited or maybe about the way it was acted. It just seemed a little too cheesy. It pulled me out of the situation a little bit.
For me, this hug didn't feel... It felt right, as in, like, obviously, like, you know, reunion. But Kim Manners' style of directing, of being so close, made it feel more tension. Like, I felt like there needed to be space. I'm kind of going back and forth on it a little bit, because obviously the intimate hug is like, you know, you want to be close to that, and the emotion that you can get from being so close to each other and sort of visually showing that in terms of like directing and framing. But at the same time, having the space of like, you can almost live in the moment rather than being so close to the moment. I just felt like we needed a bit of space.
I mean, there is an emotional tension difference between being so close to a hug and having like a pullback situation. Like you're right. There is more breathing room in a hug that we see from a little further than being so close. It's almost like this hug doesn't relieve any of the tension. And I don't think that's inaccurate when it comes to this particular point in the episode, because they are hugging each other. It's like, oh yeah, we haven't seen each other in 4 months. You thought I was dead. Oh, well, I was worried about you. And then like, there's still all of these questions in the air, though, because it's like, Sam, did you make a deal? What is the next thing that I have to deal with? It's like, they're not in the moment, we're not in the moment, nobody is in the moment except for Bobby.
and he's away from the hug. Yeah,
he's away from the hug. And so, like, I don't know, I think it works for the general storytelling of what that point in the story was.
Before this, they kind of do have a little fight as well, until Bobby convinces Sam, and then this kind of hug does occur. So it's a weird... I mean, also their relationship generally is quite claustrophobic, so I think to have that, like, the camera pulled in, it feels right. I don't know. So Christy leaves. As she leaves, Sam comes back into the room, and Bobby and Dean are there. They're both looking at Sam like, what did you do?
It's amazing how minute 2 of them being in the same room together and they're already fighting.
Yeah.
It's almost like they can't talk. Who would have guessed?
Because Dean's accusing Sam of making a deal, you know, going back on exactly what he wanted from him. What's interesting, though, is, like, Dean's so convinced at this point that Sam made a deal, like he was always expecting him to. You know, no matter what he said about not saving him or him going to hell, etc., he was always expecting Sam to save him. So I think the bigger shock is him finding out that he didn't do anything.
I didn't want to be saved like this.
Look, Dean, I wish I had done it, all right?
There's no other way that this could have gone down.
Right.
Well, Sam does admit, though, that he did try, but nobody would take it.
Yeah.
I also like, and this was like a loose thought, another depressing thought for me. Dean is so wholeheartedly stuck on the idea that it was demon influence that he got out of hell, that it had to have been a demon, that it couldn't have been anything else, that Sam sold his soul. And the word demon and soul in this episode pop up so many times. And here's the thought. Is it because Dean spent 40 years in the presence of souls and demons, and that's it, that now his perception is skewed and he thinks that that's all there is?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, that could very well be the case. I mean, you're in something for 40 years. I mean, none of us are in our 40s yet, so I can't even imagine, but like, spending that much amount of time around one type of thing, it would influence your thinking about everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we know before this that, you know, from many episodes, that Dean doesn't believe in any kind of other influence on souls or the afterlife. He believes in hell, and that's it. Everyone goes to hell, essentially. He doesn't really have any alternative to that.
Right. And like the demons had no...
Yeah.
They had no like interest in telling Dean that there was an alternative. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think in this episode as well, it kind of becomes clear that a lot of demons don't think there's any alternative either.
Right.
There's like a little interaction that they have with some demons where I'm like, oh, okay, they don't know, actually.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder how long it's been before there's been any like heavenly influence on Earth.
Well, I feel like Alistair, for once, has to know that there is a heaven, because he does know what angels are, and he does, like, fear them and so on. At least a little bit. And so, like, but I don't think that he had any point in, or interest in telling Dean that there was heaven. Because then, like, that would have taken away from the absolute hopelessness that is, like, his situation. Because I believe that Alistair taunted Dean with his dad very many times.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, that would have taken away a lot of that taunting of, like, oh yeah, maybe my dad is, you know, somewhere else, or like maybe Sam will go somewhere else if he, you know, it's like the hope that you can hang on to. And if Dean had a confirmation of, oh yeah, there is a heaven, maybe he wouldn't have felt quite as hopeless. And I imagine that's what the demons want. I haven't talked to one, but you know.
So I mean, some demons must be aware, because some demons are aware of Lucifer.
Right.
So you can't not have some heavenly presence without Lucifer.
I think it depends on the age, because there were many demons that they interacted with in season 2 and season 3. Season 2? I'm going to say season 3, actually. Season 3, that kind of thought that Lucifer was a myth. Right?
Right.
And I would imagine them as like younger demons, where you've got kind of Alistair and Lilith who have kind of been there since the beginning. And so they would remember, for example, maybe like the fall. So it's kind of like, I think it depends on the age. And then obviously it's been like thousands of years. So it would become like a myth.
I also feel like in this particular scene, there is a certain clapback to season 2 finale. Like when Sam is, you know, with very much a knife in his back. There is that time where like Dean comforts Sam, and he's like, no, it's fine, you're good, you're gonna be fine. And here, like, Sam is apologizing. He's like, I tried to get you out, and I'm sorry I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, but I wish it was me, but it wasn't me. I'm sorry. And he starts, like, completely breaking down.
I tried everything. That's the truth. I tried opening the Devil's Gate. Hell, I tried to bargain Dean, but no demon would deal, all right? You were rotting in hell for months, and I couldn't stop it. So I'm sorry it wasn't me, all right? Dean, I'm sorry.
It's okay, Sammy. You don't have to apologize. I believe you.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize. I believe you. And he says it in such a broken voice that it's like, he just wants his brother to be okay.
Yeah.
He's still looking out for Sammy.
Yeah.
I almost feel like he has this like instinct of like, oh no, I haven't been here for 5 minutes and I'm already making him sad. Like,
I think Dean's willingness to forgive Sam basically for not saving him, which he never wanted to do anyway, is just it's just so telling to his character of like.
But also, I feel like it's a very interesting change, and it's somehow telling to the character development that we see over the years, because then Purgatory arc, I'm running off into the future.
Yeah.
But Dean gets pissed at Sam that he didn't look for him. That he just took his death as a given and just was like, yep, I'm just gonna settle down now, I'm not gonna care about your death. Which is not what happened, but like, it's an interesting juxtaposition to what is happening here. Here, Dean is like, oh yes, I have no self-worth, and so you don't have to raise me from the dead.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a couple of seasons ahead, he knows that it's possible, so he's like, why didn't you pull me out?
So we come back. We're still in the motel room. Dean's asking Sam what was he up to if he wasn't trying to save Dean then. You know, he tried all the stuff and then gave up, so what's he been doing? So Sam said, well, once I figured out I couldn't save you, I started hunting down Lilith, trying to get some payback. Bobby says,
All by yourself. Who do you think you are, your old man?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bobby. I should have called. I was pretty messed up.
Bobby is no Sam too freaking well.
Yes. Because that's exactly the case.
Exactly the case. He's John. Sam says, you know, he's been busy. Dean says, oh yeah, like real busy, and like holds up Christy's bra that she left.
I'm
right.
sorry, but like, how?
Look, what do you want, Dean? Do you want him to turn into like a obsessive hunter who just tracks down demons and kills them, or do you want him to like have a little fun on the side? You can he can have both, maybe. It's fine.
I feel like this is where we see that in a lot of ways, when confronted by a situation Sam can't deal with and there is no Dean around to help him deal with it, he becomes Dean.
Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's this whole situation with Ruby going on. He's very much Dean. When he answers the door, he's Dean, and
yeah.
Well, we kind of saw that in Supernatural Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that he said that, you know, if you're not here, then I have to be like you.
Mm-hmm.
And he instead of being the extreme of Mystery Spot, you know, breaking down and like being very much like John, he has become a bit of a hybrid of John and Dean.
But then Dean did say in the end of season 3, like, remember what Dad taught you, remember what I taught you. So he's clearly taken on both of those things.
He's taken on the wrong parts of both of those things.
It's like if Dean tells you to do something and it like has to do with becoming more like John or Dean, you take that advice and you do the exact opposite.
He was talking about how to fix the Impala, Sam. Like, he wasn't talking about
exactly
the random
picking
women.
up ladies.
Like he said, like, watch Dr. Sexy and fix the car, please. He didn't mean like drink and kill.
Right. Sam's been chasing some demons and he ended up here. And they're saying, well, this will be connected. You know, you're here, I'm here. I came out of hell, blah, 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 blah. You know, they're kind of talking about, like, we've got to know what they're planning, all this kind of stuff. And then Bobby brings up that he knows a psychic that they can go to find out about this. So they go. But before they do, because Bobby leaves, Sam and Dean have this very nice moment where Sam hands over the amulet back to Dean. So he clearly had taken it from him. So now he's giving it back.
Hey, wait. Bro, I want this back.
So many problems in Supernatural would have been solved if they just talked.
Yeah, I mean, Sam says, well, thank God for that. And I was like, no.
Don't thank him for shit, Sam. Don't.
For the listeners out there, that slap was Amy hitting her forehead.
If you heard that was me. Head in hand. Dean's in the motel bathroom, then by himself, and he again, looking at himself in the mirror like he can't quite believe that he's there. We see him basically have a flashback to hell. It doesn't particularly show on his face in the mirror. It's just called sort of like a grimace, or like he looks a bit confused, but it's there. Ooh. So he's lying. I mean, what a surprise.
I mean, obviously, Dean Winchester lying? No. Never. Like, this is just a little mental health tangent, you know, as someone who has experienced PTSD and has experience with it. I mean, Dean obviously has PTSD from hell. No shit. Like, that's just very apparent. And the way you deal with PTSD, and this is a very well documented method, you just talk about the situation that gave you PTSD in the first place, and it eventually goes away because your mind kind of ends up being accustomed to it, and it processes it naturally, and it doesn't hurt anymore. And so, like, Dean is messed up the way he is for most of the show because he never talks about what happened to him. He never, like, look at season 15, he never worked through the hell trauma. He just chose not to talk about it.
Yeah.
He never really talked through purgatory trauma. He just chose not to talk about it. He never really discusses at length the times that his friends and family died. He just chooses not to talk about it. And then, like, he doesn't talk through the Michael thing. He mentions like 2 off words about the situation, and that's it. So he has all of these things inside him. Like, no wonder he feels the way he feels, which is crap.
It's very true. I mean, that's the stuff that we see happen to him in his adult life.
Yeah.
With the flashbacks that we do get as well for certain episodes, it's been going on since he was a child.
I feel like there could have been this little nugget in his brain that he decided not to tell Sam about what happened to him in hell, because Sam is already on like a demon hunt craze, and if he got to learn that his brother suffered in hell, which obviously he has, but like if Sam got to learn that he suffered more than he thought he did, he might have fallen deeper into the demon hunting craze.
And, you know, Sam already said that he feels bad about not being able to save him, so, like, why would Dean make him feel worse about that? You know, he's just glossing over it. Like, yeah, fine, I was in hell. It's no biggie.
It's fine, you know.
So we come back. They are getting into... Well, Bobby's getting into his car, and Sam and Dean walk to the Impala.
Oh, I almost forgot. Hey, sweetheart, you miss me?
I think it's the first clue as to how long he spent in hell, first of all. He's like, oh, I almost forgot the Impala. And then kind of runs his hand along the hood of the car. And as he gets in, he sees that Sam has plugged in an iPod jack into the stereo. And when he turns it on, it starts playing, like, I think it's like country music. I'm not even sure.
Jason Mann. It's Jason Mann.
Yeah.
It's Jason Mann.
I'm so sorry I called you country music, Jason. Close enough.
Yeah, which is awesome because he's like their friend.
Yeah.
And they sing together, so it's...
I didn't even recognize that because I like own some of his albums as well. I didn't even clock it.
Is this the first time that they've used his music in the show?
I think so. Yeah.
What's kind of cool is that the song in particular is Vision by Jensen Mans. And that just kind of vibes with the whole episode.
I do love, like, Sam's innocent, like, shrug that he does. Like, his face and everything is like, you know, I wanted to listen to something that's not classic rock. Sorry. And then, like, Dean just tosses the iPod, like, over his shoulder.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, no, if your music's bad, we're listening to no music.
I feel like he also just could have done it because listening to, like, driving the Impala would have been painful enough. Like a reminder. Listening to Dean's music, impossible. He just needed some other music.
It's true. Oh, it's true. Poor Sam. I do feel for Sam in this. Yep, they're driving. They're having a brother conversation because they are in the Impala, and that's where you do those. You know, Dean's kind of wondering how Sam got out of the situation alive at the end of season 3, because as far as he knows, Lilith was still in the room when he died. And Sam explains about how he seems like he's immune to demon powers now because she tried to get rid of him and it didn't really work, which leaves Dean kind of concerned about his psychic powers and whether or not he's using them. Sam here, I get the manipulation between them is awful, right? Because he says,
look, you didn't want me to go down that road, so I didn't go down that road. It was practically your dying wish.
So many things could have been made better if you just did not say that sentence.
I know.
Because it gets thrown in his face later on.
Yeah, absolutely. So they turn up at Pamela's house. The psychic that Bobby knows. She greets Bobby like best friends.
Yeah.
She looks Sam and Dean up and down and says to Dean, like, out of the fire, back in the frying pan, huh? She knows what's up. Pamela's already kind of looked for something. She said that she Ouija'd her way through a dozen spirits and no one seems to know anything. So they're going to do a seance. While they're kind of like setting up, Pamela like bends down to get something and Dean checks out her like tattoo that's on her lower back that says Jessie Forever. And he asks her about it. But I like that Pamela's just like ready for it. She's just like, she knew this was going to happen. She's a good psychic. She knew this was going to happen.
I like Pamela, but at the same time I feel like these kinds of tones in this scene have been laid on way too thick. Because it not only borders on something I don't like, it is something I don't like, and
it's very flirty and very weird, and it's like, why would you do this in someone where you're about to find out who pulled you out of hell, Dean? Like, why are you flirting with this woman? Like,
again, trauma response, but
well, yes.
He's kind of just going around the problem. Just like, let me focus on something that's not this.
Right. It's a stressful situation. This whole like scene continues. They eventually sit down to do the seance. And so they take each other's hands. Pamela says that she needs to touch something that the mystery monster touched. And then puts her hand on Dean's thigh and he's like, he didn't touch me there.
You don't know that, Dean.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote in my notes. I was like, I don't know that.
If we want to get technical, he did touch him everywhere because he had to rebuild him. Exactly. So he did touch his thigh. He also touched other things. Do with that what you will. But at the same... Exactly, his pancreas. Okay, this is something that I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before when we talk about the finale and when we talked about the handprint. The handprint is amazing. Yeah. In that it makes every single scene where Dean is intimate with anyone about Cass. Because if there is the handprint present, then our thoughts are directed at Cass. But when there isn't the handprint present, because the show decided that it healed over, or whatever, it still raises the question of where is Cass, because the handprint isn't there. So it's like, every single time that Dean is, like, you know, intimate with anybody, it's always about Cass. There is always the elephant in the room, and it's always Cass.
There's something there as well that I can't quite put my finger on about Pamela having a tattoo of an ex's name, and then Dean having a handprint in this seance. And there's something, I'm trying to connect the two. It's almost like...
I mean, it is a sort of permanent mark. Yeah. To, like, connecting you to a person, I use that word lightly, who kind of meant a lot to you, but maybe not in the most pleasant of ways.
This seance begins. Obviously, Pamela has to put her hand on the handprint in order to start this seance because it's something that the monster touched. You know, they start the seance, and as they do, Pamela says,
Castiel? No, sorry, Castiel. I don't scare easy.
Castiel?
Its name. It's whispering to me, warning me to turn back.
So, like, hey, Cass was trying here.
Yeah, Cass was trying, but he's socially awkward, so he didn't say, like, if you don't look away, I'm gonna burn your eyeballs out.
Yeah, I wouldn't mean to, but Pamela kind of demands that Castiel shows his face, and she screams. All the candles fizzle up, and as she collapses, we see that her eyes have been burnt out of her sockets.
Really like how they did this. Like, it was almost like a purple lined white flame. Like, it was visually, it was gross. Like, I hated it. But I also loved it because it was just I felt the intense heat. And the pain that she must have been in to just glimpse this presence. How terrifying is that? You're in that room, you hear a name, and suddenly, like, chaos ensues.
Yeah.
I feel like later seasons, they make the burning out of eyes less intense. Like, it's more of a glow effect. They don't do this fire anymore, which I think is such a shame, because it's almost like, oh, the presence is so intense that you kind of internally combust.
Here's a penny for your thoughts, though. What if it's... Because over the seasons, we can see that Cass gradually gets weaker, right? You can punch the guy and he just falls to the ground and starts bleeding, juxtaposed to the situation where in this episode he literally gets shot, stabbed, and so many things, and he doesn't even flinch. Is it because over the course of the entire show, Cass gradually falls, and so he distances himself from heaven, and therefore his power is waning, and there is no longer a flame? He needs to actively make it happen himself.
Yeah, I quite like that, because when for example, Cass touches demons and things, it's almost like he's infusing them from the inside out with angelic grace, so that's kind of why it comes out with their eyes. Whereas this is kind of like an external thing, so maybe it's kind of that way around. I don't know. Yeah, I like the depowering thing. I do feel like they do it with other angels too, though, so I think it's just they moved away from practical effects, which is a shame. It definitely works for Cass because they do have to constantly nerf him.
But then, I mean, a lot of the angels that come to Earth have fallen from heaven, so you could actually still apply that theory.
Yeah, you could, definitely. Because, in these seasons, they're all fully powered and they keep these kind of cool effects as well. So they all go to a diner called Johnny Mac's, and, Sam and Dean are talking about this whole thing. They do confirm here that Pam's still alive, but she's blind. I like they confirm that she's alive. Dean says we got a name, Castiel or whatever, which I love so much. Dean's saying we can summon him and bring him right to us. Sam's like, no.
What are you, an idiot?
She's like, we just watched someone get their eyes burned out of their face, and you want to summon this person? What are you doing? And Sam's got a better idea. He followed some demons. He's going to ask the demons instead. Because they're having a very loud conversation about demons in public, where they're the only people in that cafe.
I just face bombed.
We already know from Ghostfacers that people can still hear their conversations even when they're only 4 feet away.
Yeah, they just think they can. So or
I know we're back in Chuck's lens, but come on.
I mean, it backfires on them because this waitress sits down next to them and is like, "Hi, I'm a demon."
Everybody here is a demon, actually.
The demons you were talking about up in this joint.
To hell and back. Aren't you a lucky duck?
That's me.
So you get to just stroll out of the pit, huh? Tell me, what makes you so special?
I like to think it's because of my perky nipples.
Stop making jokes in the face of danger, Dean. It's not cute. And so this goes back and forth a bit. Eventually she says, mind your tone, boy, I'll drag you back to hell myself.
And he calls her bluff.
He really does.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. And I think I know why he does it, or at least I have a theory.
Yes.
It's because, he was Alistair's favorite student. So I believe he was treated better than a lot of the demons down there, the low-level demons, and he had seniority over them. So now he knows how to deal with them. I imagine hell works on intimidation and just kind of being superior to other people via violence and cockiness.
Yeah.
So I feel like Dean knows so much about demons and how to deal with them because he technically was one in the pit.
She threatens to rip his lungs out, whatever, and he looks so unfazed by it.
And he punches her. He's like, Psh.
I don't think he even punches her. I think he slaps her in the face.
Bitch slap. Yeah, just
which is so disrespectful, right? And it's oh yeah, you were used to just being superior to these people.
Yeah, it's a demon out of the pit is just coming out of him in different situations. It's fascinating
because she doesn't recognize that he's a higher ranking demon to her. I know he's not a demon at this point, but he was.
Right.
She doesn't recognize that because she wasn't in hell, I presume. So yeah, this kind of whole thing, I was just oh my gosh. Yeah, you can totally see it. And they haven't even really written that far yet. So how much were they planning of what had happened to him? He even leaves her a tip, which is just like a...
That's such a dick move. I mean, I guess, like, he's hoping that, you know, the demon will leave this human and at least, like, she got paid.
Maybe.
No.
It's fully just disrespect at this point. Like,
Yeah, it is. It's
you.
cocky disrespect. You gotta pay for the pie. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was good pie, I mean, yeah, even demons deserve tips.
Maybe the cook wasn't a demon.
So as they leave this diner, Dean then kind of makes, I makes a whole show out of like, oh, that was a scary situation, where it like, wasn't really for him. I
feel like he's constantly trying to de-escalate this whole Sam and demons thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, he's trying to keep, like, Sam out of the situation. And even here, Sam is like, we could have taken them. And it's like, no, we just have one knife. So they go back. Sam wants to kill them, but Dean's like, no. They go back to the motel. We see Dean asleep, like fast asleep, sort of like sat up asleep, which I can totally do. I don't know about you guys, but I can fall asleep wherever I want. It's just, I can do it, and it's the greatest thing in the world. So, just rubbing that in. So, as we see Dean sleeping, we see Sam sneaking out because he's a sneaky boy. Mothman, was it? Spidey Sam?
Spidey Sam, exactly.
Why did Mothman happen in my head?
Close enough.
No clue on that one.
And you were right from before. So Cass waits until everyone leaves and then is like, I'm going to try and speak to Dean again. Let's do that.
And like, it's the worst kind of place because the shot to establish like Dean's asleep is a mirror on the window, on the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh no, this is going to be bad.
Yeah. It's a weird room. It's like a tiger print room. I don't know if you noticed this. The wallpaper was tiger print.
It had a heart for where the like, yeah, no, it was a by the hour kind of place.
Yeah. Fine. Dean gets quite hurt this time because that mirror does shatter on his head, and he is quite cut up. And again, I think he's bleeding even more from the ears because as Bobby comes in and shouts, Dean! We kind of then immediately cut to them sitting in Bobby's car, and you can see that Dean's quite bloodied from this experience. I mean, the first time actually in the gas station, I noticed they had like glass in his hair and everything, like all over him. So I'm surprised wasn't more cut up from that too. This is one of the lines I think was foreshadowing.
How you doing, kid?
Aside from the church bells ringing in my head, peachy.
Subtle Kripke.
Super.
Sam has taken the Impala and he's sat outside that diner. His phone rings and it's Dean, and they both lie to each other. So Sam says he went to get a burger, and Dean said they went to go get a beer with Bobby. So they're both lying.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby's like, excuse me, son, we don't lie in this family. And it's like, Bobby.
It's like, Bobby, have you met us? Lying is like, half the things we do. And hunting monsters is the remaining 50%.
Yeah. Or is it saving people, hunting things, lying to each other?
Exactly. I want that on a t-shirt. So Dean says that like we're gonna basically summon whatever pulled me out of hell. We don't need to tell Sam, doesn't need to be involved. And he pulls out the demon killing knife. And I thought this moment, like, did he steal that from Sam? Because Sam's gone on like a demon hunting trip and didn't take. I guess we know why he didn't take the knife, but you would always expect him to as well.
You're right. Sam, I guess this confirms kind of in Dean's mind that Sam hasn't gone off to kill demons.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. And Sam hasn't been using the knife anyway, so there you go.
Sam has an actual alibi, almost like by using that knife.
Alibi by absence of weapon.
Yeah. Bobby wants to take Sam, and Dean's like, no. Sam goes into the diner, and the cook from earlier is dead, or like one of the guys is dead, and he turns him over, and his eyes have been burnt out. He gets tackled by the waitress, and they have this whole like fight thing. And then as she turns around, you see that she's also had her eyes burnt out. She's doing a good job of fighting Sam with, like, no eyes. But she says she can smell his soul. I was like, ooh.
That's low-key creepy.
That's not his soul. That's his shirt. His hippie shirt.
What does Sam's soul smell like? Let's go on a tangent.
Blood.
Yeah, blood.
Yeah.
So like iron and gunpowder. I like a good gunpowder tea. Just think about that. Wow, I thought we were going to be like something fun. Like, I don't know, his bad aftershave and purple dog shirts. But it's like, no, blood.
Blood, regret, depression, anger.
Hair
He doesn't
gel.
really have maybe like lettuce.
Lettuce. Like wet grass.
Because like, you know, he's like health conscious, right? So
Yeah.
he had healthy food for the soul kind of stuff. I don't know.
Freshly mown grass on a summer's day and demon blood.
Yes. Freshly mowed grass on a murder scene.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, the demon says go to hell because this is what demons always say to them. And Sam's like, I was going to say the same thing to you. And we see him do this Jedi style. It's so Jedi, right? With his hand out.
It's Jedi, and it's the second or third thing in this episode that's so wholeheartedly stupid. Because the sound effects they used.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Supernatural is notorious for using this particular sound effect sometimes to, kind of show surprise. I understand that by that point that sound effect may have been used to indicate surprise. By this point it has become a bit of a meme because it has been overused. And in this particular instance, it's not used once. It's not used twice. It's used all the time for like a 15-second stretch. It's amazing. Sam stretches his hand out. He's trying to pull the soul out of the demon or like exorcise his demon into hell. And it's like, bam, 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 bam.
I like the effect of her choking up a demon. I thought that was really cool.
I also like the scorched ground after it's all done as well. I thought that was really nicely done.
I think the burning into the ground's a nice juxtaposition from the angels when they die, because you just kind of get this like blob of stuff on the floor, whereas the angels are very like delicate, like whole wing imprint. And then Ruby appears, and Sam's like, "Hi, Ruby."
Yeah.
You know, Sam's like, what's going on? Because he's asking her what's happened to Dean, and she doesn't know what pulled Dean out.
I wish I knew.
We were thinking some high-level demon pulled Dean out?
No way. Sam, human souls don't just walk out of hell and back into their bodies easy. The sky bleeds, the ground quakes. It's cosmic. No demon can swing that. Not Lilith. Not anybody.
Then what can?
Nothing I've ever seen before.
And she's been around since like the 1600s, right? She was.
Well, it is said that the angels have been just sitting and observing, and I imagine that they have methods to not make themselves known to demons. I also want to, real quick tangent here. It's amazing to me how Supernatural has already started doing this. It's the first episode in which Cass is present. And it's the first episode in which Ruby is present in this current form.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already paralleled two relationships of two Winchester brothers, two supernatural beings.
Absolutely. One
is romantic, the other, well. We don't talk about Bruno.
I mean, this is it. I've always seen this because, like, okay, Sam's dark side, so he's having a relationship with a demon. He's involved in hell. Dean's light side, Obi-Wan Kenobi, dealing with heaven. Like, of course, he's having a relationship with an angel, and it's like, but then he's not. Writers,
they're just bros being bros.
I mean, I guess they were gonna. There is. I mean, we'll talk about this as she appears as well. But there was also gonna be Anna.
But like, they could have made the angel female. And here's, like, from the very beginning.
Yes.
It was not that difficult. It could have happened. And we know that Kripke's notorious for not knowing how to write women, but apparently he's doing fine with Ruby. And the situation is that, like, if you didn't want, like, why didn't they make Cass female. Because Castiel, I mean, angels don't really have a gender, so they could have been like, oh yeah, Castiel is a female name. It's not a gender-specific name. It's not Bob. It's a cosmic name. So, Cass could have possessed any vessel. And the thing is that, why? Did they think that the angel that was gonna first roll in couldn't have been a woman because a woman wouldn't have pulled off the kind of oomph? That's sexist. We didn't write a woman because, I don't know, we don't know how to write women. That's sexist. Yep. It's is there a non-sexist explanation that's not homosexual in nature? Not really.
The thing is, as well, I have thought about this before, because they even could have seen where there was oh, we're making this parallel, and there's definitely a romantic path we could walk on this. They literally could have had Cass turn up in a female vessel, and they could have questioned it, and they could have said, oh, I appeared in a form that I would think that you would enjoy. Or
exactly.
They could have made a sexist joke as well, and they could they could have been right on par with Supernatural as it is. What's interesting is the problem is that I don't think at this point I don't know if they were planning to mirror the angel and the demon thing. I mean, they weren't ever. But, by having Cass first appear in a male vessel, they could never then make anything romantic out of that because, but he was once a man, so, how could this ever happen? It's ridiculous.
But it's they didn't think about the parallel of an angel and a demon. It's like vampire pirates. Vampirates is the second thing you think.
Yeah. The thing is that the parallel's so clearly there. I can't believe they didn't see it. And yeah.
Or they saw it and they were like, we're making this show for a conservative audience. Obviously, they're not going to think they're gay.
But then we're back to our original point then. Why didn't they just make Cass a woman from the beginning? Yeah. And have this epic love story of a man with no faith falling in love with a fallen angel. It's the perfect.
Could it have been? Well, it happened anyway. But could it have been that they kind of didn't want to disrespect the biblical text in a way
by making an angel
a woman and making a love story out of it? They were like, that's a bit much.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're probably right with that as well. I think they knew they were treading into possibly controversial ground.
Right. I mean, making God a villain was a bold choice anyway.
They didn't care by that point, though, about the...
Yeah, exactly. they have slowly eased into that territory, but this was the first instance that they had done anything, biblical that wasn't negative. You think about demons, it's oh yes, lust and bad things. So it's kind of obvious that there could be an unhealthy relationship between Sam and a demon. Yeah. But, if it were a loving, supportive relationship between Sam and a demon, people could have gotten upset. But, so they couldn't really make a... Because already women are kind of a controversial topic in biblical stances. Yeah, love between these two? No.
Look, they accidentally told the greatest love story ever, so it's fine. It all worked out, kind of. It didn't, but it did. Yeah, it's a choice. This is a continuing conversation that we're going to have throughout all of Cass and Dean's interactions in this show. I mean,
this is it.
We have so much to cover. I'm really looking forward to it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we're procrastinating from the barn scene. It doesn't quite start yet. We see Dean and Bobby, and they are in this. It is a barn, but it looks like a I can't explain it. There's something very
I always felt like it was a weird combination between a military barracks and a bomb shelter.
A bomb shelter is a good way to put it, actually, because you see it from the outside and it's an old traditional barn. You only get a very brief shot of it, and then you go inside and it's why does it look like that?
There's something very off about this barn.
And they are summoning, and they have everything. They have their stakes, they have their iron, they have every symbol you could possibly ever want, sprayed in this barn.
Very aesthetic. It's graffiti.
My favourite one is, for some reason, whenever they show a shot of Bobby, there's tiny, very sloppily drawn pentagram behind him. And I'm just I love it. What's that doing?
this is just kind of a loose dream that I think everybody has had, but I've been, for a long time daydreaming about owning a bar at some point. And I definitely want to have a corridor leading, I don't know, to the bathrooms that is just like this. That's the decoration.
Along with the exploding light bulbs, because I would go there.
Yeah, that can be arranged.
Yeah.
Maybe not actually exploding, but like simulated explosion.
Every 50th person that randomly walks through that, there is something weird that happens with that light. Like, oh, you're an angel. Little flash of the wings on the wall.
We cut back again to Sam and Ruby, and they're sat down now in this diner after having exorcised this demon, and everyone's dead. So they decide to sit down and have a conversation.
As you do.
And they're talking about keeping this from Dean. Ruby kind of wants to tell Dean.
$1 million question. You gonna tell Dean about what we're doing?
Yeah, I just gotta figure out the right way to say it. Look, I just need time, okay? That's all.
Sam, he's gonna find out, and if it's not from you, he's gonna be pissed.
Oh, he's gonna be pissed anyway.
And I guess you can already see that Dean coming back is going to complicate their relationship, and if maybe he approved a little bit more, it would be helpful.
Dean needs to give us his blessing.
Basically, yeah. And so Sam's like, no, we're not going to tell him at all because, he'll just try and stop me. He's so hard-headed about this psychic stuff.
When he exercised the waitress earlier, he checks her pulse and says, damn it. So do you think he's been able to exorcise demons without killing the people?
Yes, I do. Because he says, what I do know is that I'm saving people, I'm stopping demons, and that feels good, and I want to keep going. So I think, he's been able to successfully exorcise people so that they live, which is what Sam always wanted. He must feel like he's doing something righteous. That his powers are for good now because he's managing to save these people from these demons.
Don't you use the word righteous at me?
Hey, look. We had this conversation about how Sam could, if he wasn't infected with demon blood, could have also been, the righteous man.
Yeah, I mean, they technically said that John could have been it. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that.
I think it was a manipulation tactic, but if we take it at face value, I mean, it seems like anybody could have been it.
Yeah. I think, he's always supposed to be Dean. So back to Dean and Bobby, and they are waiting because Bobby did the summoning spell and then nothing happened. I have a question here.
Yes.
Do we think they actually summoned Cass?
No. God, no. They did not. They didn't know what they were summoning, and there are specific summoning rituals for specific supernatural creatures. Yeah. So they couldn't just. There is no general summoning spell that works for when you don't know the actual summoning. No. Cass was just being a dramatic ass. I mean, he didn't have to do the entrance the way he did. He did not have to. None of that had to have happened. But he was like, humans require good first impressions. What is Dean's main character trait? Murder. Okay, I can work with that. And because he's awkward and he wanted just a real oomph when he walked in, he just waited a second. He knew what was happening. He just brought that tension higher.
I've seen one fan theory that I do really enjoy is that all the banging and the crashing on the roof was Cass falling onto the roof and rolling off, and then he had to compose himself to walk.
It's just flopping.
Yeah,
it's God damn it, my wings.
Which means he had to go get a vessel essentially. So he had to go get Jimmy, and then
I do like the crashing thing because. I mean, if you look at the biblically accurate angel depictions, I mean, seraphim are basically just wings with eyes. Yep. So, God, that is a terrifying mental image that, this creature made up entirely of wings and eyeballs just, flops onto a barn. Whoa.
Because he has too many, you know how a pigeon can see behind itself. It doesn't really know where to go. So it's
It's like, this is a kaleidoscope of horror. Where am I? Give me the accountant.
He went from having like many limbs to only like 4, so it was quite a difficult transition. So we get all this banging and crashing, and it's all very building up to this like really tense moment. The door bursts open because it was like barricaded. In walks Castiel. I'm so excited. I'm just like, oh, it's my boy. I thought in this moment he's never looked more like John Constantine than in this moment. There's something about, and it does continue all the way through season 4 and season 5, there's something about the way they fitted his like suit and trench coat so that it looks so like it's swamping him in the same way that it does John Constantine. I know that his character style is based off of that, but I thought, oh no, he looks the most like him here.
And I mean, he also kind of looks like with that same aesthetic of Columbo. I know that was another influence, and like Columbo's trench coat is like way too big for him as well. I guess it's an awkward look, right? Like you just don't fit into the body.
So, as he walks towards them, all being bad, we know this entrance, like, it's so iconic. It's voted the second best. Death's entrance is always voted the first, but this is voted the second best entrance.
The light bulbs are exploding, and Dean and Bobby are shooting, and he's just walking unfazed. And you know that he's enjoying this, because he is smirking a little bit. So it's just like walking, like, this is the first impression the humans speak of. It's like, dramatic ass.
You know, as he walks up to them, he walks up to Dean, obviously not Bobby, walks quite close to him.
Who are you?
I'm the one who gripped you tight and raised you from perdition.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
They talk, and he's like, I pulled you out of hell. And he's like, thank you, stab. Like, Dean has a weird way of showing appreciation. Do you think that Cass has a very skewed way of showing affection because Dean is just giving him mixed signals all over the place ever since they met?
100%. Yeah, go on.
I have a question, a little bit of a tangent maybe. Has Dean just killed the vessel, Jimmy?
No.
Because he bleeds.
I'm gonna say no as well.
I think demons die like the people who are vessels for demons. They die because a demon can only sustain a body, but they can't heal the body. It's unlike the angel, where the angel can be like, oh, you're dying, let me just heal you, and you're fine now. So I think that angels, because they require consent to enter a vessel, I think they also take care of it a bit more.
Yeah. Like, remember how, like, annoyed Meg was when she got shot? She's like, because I don't think they can, like, heal it in the same way.
Yeah.
So she'd have to carry around that wound, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, Cass definitely heals Jimmy.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the only reason why, like, demons can move around in vessels is because, like, they don't feel pain, but they can't really heal the body. I feel like it's also a very nice and elegant explanation for why demons hop the vessels so much.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, that one's worn out. Let me just get another one.
Get to. So, yeah, I mean, Cass takes out this knife, completely like,
unfazed.
Thank you for saying hello to me in this way.
I love you too.
So Cass puts Bobby to sleep with 2 fingers to his forehead. I love the 2-finger gesture, very Vulcan. Cass says, we need to talk, Dean, alone. I mean, I'm going to put it in, but I'm doing the voice, kind of. It's everything. This scene is everything. This is the beginning of Supernatural.
Yeah.
The past 3 seasons mean nothing.
Nothing to me.
Dead to me.
Last 3 seasons can go to hell, and then Cass can raise them from perdition.
Yeah.
Such an iconic quote, Jesus.
I know. I have it on a sticker. I have it on a coaster, probably somewhere. Like
I have it etched into my ribs by this point. Really.
So you breathe it in.
Yeah. Breathe in the saving. Breathe out the perdition.
That's what I'm gonna start doing when I meditate.
The like heaven version of yoga.
I like it a lot. So we get to the final scene of this episode, and Dean's checking Bobby Cass assures him that he goes, your friend is alive. And the way he kind of looks down is just, look, everything about Misha in this scene, he did everything perfectly apart from we were saying before, his accent is a little off in some places.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be the first one to admit he hadn't got the Cass voice down.
Yeah, it takes him a while.
Yeah. Dean asks again, who are you? And Castiel introduces himself as Castiel. And just Dean's like, yeah, obviously. What are you?
Who are you?
Castiel.
Yeah, I figured that much. I mean, what are you?
I'm an angel of the Lord.
Dean is shooketh. There's a chaos rewatching here somewhere where you watch Houses of the Holy and then you watch this episode, because Dean doesn't believe in angels, he doesn't believe in heaven, he doesn't believe in the good side of the coin. There's nothing there. For him to meet an angel, I'm not surprised he doesn't believe that angels exist.
This is your problem, Dean. You have no faith.
Cass knows so much about Dean. At what point do you think he started watching over Dean? Do you think they first met in hell, or do you think that Cass has been watching Dean for his whole life?
This is going to be a bit of a jokey answer.
That's fine.
But there is some talk in the community that Cass is an autistic angel. Mm-hmm. And autistic people have some things that are called special interests. Dean could have been Cass's special interest.
I quite like that. He's hyper fixated on Dean.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. You can list off all the facts of his life.
Yeah.
He saw his soul being formed in heaven and then followed it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that Cass was aware of Dean before the hell thing, but angels can time travel. So I do quite like the idea that Cass then went on and time traveled to witness all of the formative and key moments of Dean's life. Over the years.
In between him trying to speak to Dean in this episode, he's been time traveling.
He was watching up.
How should I introduce myself to this guy?
I need to know. I need information.
It's not working. I thought this would be fine, and it's not working.
It's amazing because in the next little bit, there's the incredible exchange between them, which kind of closed the episode, and it's Dean says, well, I'm not buying what you're selling, so who are you really? And Cass says, I already told you. And Dean says, right, and why would an angel rescue me from hell?
Good things do happen, Dean.
Not in my experience.
Cass gets really close in, and he does the head tilt, and he burrows his eyeballs into Dean's soul, basically. And he says,
what's the matter? You don't think you deserve to be saved?
It's not a question. Mm-hmm. It's a statement. And he knows Dean. And there are a few of these moments in the show in the entirety of the show, where Cass figures Dean out in 0.5 seconds or less. He looks at him and he knows what's up. And there is this certain face that Dean does when that happens, of oh shit, he knows what's going on. And this is the first instance of that. So they met, and Cass just immediately had Dean figured out.
Yeah.
And that's probably very unnerving, because he's pretty good at hiding who he is from people, and to be called out so easily by an entity that he doesn't believe in. Yeah. I can't imagine that's I feel like
that's kind of why they become such good friends over the years. Because they do have this connection that I don't think even Sam has that connection to Dean in quite the same way. Sam can pick up on when Dean is feeling off, but he doesn't figure him out like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the special part of their relation that they do have.
I agree. I think it's because Cass knows Dean. He just knows him. I don't know, they have this connection. that I don't know if it was forged in hell or what, but there does seem to be a very specific understanding between Dean and Cass. And I almost think in some ways it's because they're quite similar. There's the issues that Cass has with Chuck later on that we kind of get through, you know, about being like someone's son whose father has abandoned them. There's similarities between their characters. Like Cass literally carries like the weight of the world on his shoulders at times. He feels that he has to save the world and is constantly failing to do so. Like, Cass's decisions are never good, and he carries that with him all the time. And I think that at the very core of their being, they're kind of extremely similar to the point that it would be frustrating to anybody else. But because neither of them can communicate their feelings very well, it's a relief being known by somebody. Yeah. I love it so much. This scene is iconic. It establishes a lot about angels. It establishes a lot about vessels, because here Cass talks about Jimmy and how he had to ask and how Jimmy prayed for this to happen. We get to see like Cass's wings for the first time. There's one other thing in here that I always thought was very interesting, which was that Dean asks Cass why he burnt out Pamela's eyes if he's so good, and he said that he had been trying to communicate, but he had assumed that Dean could see his true form, so was trying to didn't understand why it wasn't working, because like Dean should have been able to see him, which I thought was so cute.
It's a little sad what he said. And I think it made Dean feel inadequate even more in this situation, because Cass said certain special people can perceive my true form. Yeah. I thought you would be one of those people, but it's not the case. And yeah.
But he's already like kind of a special person to Cass. I mean, that's probably because righteous man, whole seal thing, blah, 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 blah. But he did assume that Dean would be able to see him. I was always interesting that he couldn't actually.
It would have been too gay.
It adds to the mystery of this episode. That's like the only reason. But yeah. I can't wait to watch the rest of season 4. Like, there's so much going on here. Like, Sam's off doing weird stuff with Ruby and psychics. He's gone full Luke Skywalker on the Death Star. Dean's doing stuff because, you know, at the end of this, Dean says, "Why'd you even do it?" And Cass says, "Because God commanded it, because we have work for you." That is a direct almost quote from Faith, where the pastor there says, "You have work to do." It's like, what? That was season 1. This is season 4. It's too much for me.
It's too much. It's amazing, and I honestly can't wait to get to season 4 in my current rewatch. I mean, it's my current rewatch, but I have very unkindly forced my partner into watching Supernatural for the first time with me, and so yeah, I'm waiting for the angel to show up in my show.
How far are you along now with your rewatch?
We're somewhere in season 2.
Ooh. Season 2 is a good one, though.
Season 2 is a good one.
Yeah.
What an opener.
Compare this to the Magnificent 7. It's like, oh yeah, this is how you open a season, actually.
Yeah.
This is how you introduce a new character.
Yeah. It's probably the best opener of this show.
Also, the drama of this, this sort of introduction to Cass, thinking at this point he's only going to be in like 2 or 3 episodes.
that is a good point. Like, this is a lot of effort for a character who was not going to be in it again.
Right?
I mean, from the very beginning they set themselves up for failure.
Yes.
It was impossible that it was going to be just 2 episodes. No, you can't.
You can't give me my little tousled hair John Constantine angel and then say, no, you can't have this guy anymore. Like, he was always going to be a fan favourite.
Yeah.
So the moment they put on that trench coat and he came in with his weird deep voice and robotic movement.
If he was introduced some other way, I think he could have possibly faded into the background.
Yeah.
But this was too much.
Yeah, like this, you've introduced, I mean, he's a big bad, but not really. Like, the way he's introduced is a big bad, but it turns out he's actually a big good. How could you not continue that on?
I know.
So it's bad planning, but also amazing planning.
Yeah.
Impeccable planning.
I mean, I can honestly say
accidents are not plans.
Yeah, not to give CW credit for absolutely anything, but like, yeah, this was great.
The thing is, I did enjoy Supernatural up to a point of like the horror movie stuff, but I'll be honest, horror's not really my genre. Like, I don't think I would have continued watching just the constant sort of monster of the week stuff.
And I mean, I feel like they already felt like that was a thing that was happening. Like, people had to have been tired of the monster of the week stuff all the time.
I mean, it's getting stale.
Yeah, a lot of Supernatural fans would like disagree and say that's the bit that really drew them into the show and they really enjoyed it. Some biblical stuff is very much the content that I enjoy. Like, if you look at all of the media I consume, there's a sort of common theme there. Like, I really enjoy Preacher, I really enjoy Lucifer, and Good Omens. There's a common theme there, and I don't know what it is or why I'm drawn to that specific type of media, but I mean, Supernatural just sort of itches that kind of like sweet spot of taking biblical stuff and twisting it in some way.
Yeah, I feel like I can speak for a lot of universal experiences that we've been kind of brought up in this very religious environment where religion was perceived in a very specific way. And I mean, at a certain point, at least for me personally, it kind of became a little too much. And it's kind of content that's not in itself interesting. But because these kinds of media take this thing that I know very well from a specific perspective and twist that perspective, that makes it interesting because it's something familiar that I know. Yeah. But it's not. And it's interesting and it's cool and yeah.
It's almost like, I guess what I can equate it to is, for example, like when people had sort of like polytheism, like I quite enjoy stuff around like Norse gods and things as well. But that was the whole point of those original stories. Like, people would make up stories about the gods in that pantheon. That's where a lot of like myths and legends come from. But we don't really have that same thing in kind of Christianity and that kind of stuff. Like, it's like this is the truth. And that's it.
This happened.
Yeah. But people are drawn to making stories about characters that they already know. So why would you not do it from the Bible?
It humanizes the experience of it. Because the experience of religion, at least in my case, was very dry. And this kind of, Good Omens and Lucifer and Supernatural, they kind of humanized this entire process.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm glad that Supernatural took that direction. Like, I do realise some people don't agree with the direction that they took into, like, angels and demons and things, but I don't know where else they could have gone with it. And
it wouldn't have lasted as long.
No.
For sure.
That's a conversation that I'd like to have with someone who really thinks that the show would have lasted 15 seasons if we didn't have Cass and Crowley and actually all the other supporting characters as well. If it had just been a show about Sam and Dean for 15 years, it wouldn't have gone on that long. No. Okay, so I guess we'll start to wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts on this episode, Jay, that you didn't manage to talk about while we were going through it?
Cass, good, excited. That's it.
I love that.
I think we picked that up.
Annabelle, what about you?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. It's definitely fun to hear you guys talk about it because obviously you guys love Cass a lot more than.
I'm so sorry.
No. I love it. I absolutely love it. I could sit and like listen to you guys talk about how you feel about Cass and all the stuff that you've seen in the fandom like for hours. I'm totally down for that. I like to absorb it.
The only thing I didn't bring up that I wish I had was that for some reason Sam's name that he was using for his phone was Wedge Antilles, which I find hilarious. That is a rebel pilot from Star Wars. And I didn't bring it up, so I am now. Oh my gosh, I get to say it in person to Jay because we use his art for our logo, and also Jay made all the themes for the episode art each week. You know, the template for that. Annabelle adds the episode are in, but it all looks beautiful and cohesive because of Jay's wonderful work. So
thank you.
If you would like to buy our amazing logo art, I mean, I have it on a bag that it looks good. It just looks good. And as I said before, a random person told me that it was very mysterious. So it's also a conversation piece. You can go to Redbubble and purchase it on anything. Jay, while you're here, thank you. Your art is amazing, and it really added to our podcast and the look and feel of it. So we are eternally grateful to you.
I am very flattered. Thank you.
If you would like to talk to us about the episode or discuss anything with us, you can find us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, etc. We are at Escaping Purgatory or Escaping Podcast. And yeah, all the links are in the description, so just come find us. And answer my questions that I pose on Spotify because they're fun and I really like reading the responses.
Me too. Jay, do you want to give out your socials to where they can find you?
You can find me on Tumblr under The Pixel Agora. Come hang out. It's fun. It's gay.
Yeah, commission Jay for some art. I fully do it. Do it.
Do it. Going all dark side, you know. All right. So we've had a little bit of a break in Purgatory, but we found a couple of pals. We didn't make it out of Purgatory this week, but hopefully next week. Bye.
Bye.